So this is everything that's going in the build. We have the 9060 XT 16 gig, a Gigabyte B650 Gaming AX V2 motherboard, the Ryzen 7 7700X, a 2 terabyte NVMe SSD from Inland, and then the CPU cooler is the Arctic Liquid Freezer 3 Pro, and then powering everything is the MAG A750GL PSU, and it's 750 watts, 80 plus gold certified. Of course, it's all going in the LandCool 217 case. So let's get going on the motherboard. This is the Gigabyte B650 Gaming X AX V2, and it's AM5. And let's open her up. Bunch of paperwork that I'm not going to use, spatulas. Right, so here it is in all its glory. Let's take a look at what we're dealing with. Oops. So here it is. It actually looks really clean. I'm really loving the additional heat spreaders for the. I think there's one or two more SSD ports like under here. Great VRM coverage, and we also have the EPS connectors. There's an additional, I think 2+2 it's called, on the top there. So let's go ahead with our motherboard prep. Let's throw in the 7700X. Here it is. So the way to install a AM5 chip is you release the lever, you push down, down, and out, and then you just lift it up. And then once you've done that, you just open up the plate, make sure there's no bent pins, doesn't look like there's any, and then you take your CPU, open it up, make sure to not touch the top or the sides, take it out somehow. Once you have it out, you want to find this golden arrow up here, and then you want to look on your motherboard. Might be kind of hard to see here. So the arrow is right here on the top here, and you just want to make sure you match those. So we're just going to line it up and drop it in. Little wiggle test. It's good to go. Lower the lever. You want to push down and it'll pop up just like that. Your AM5 CPU is installed. Next thing I'm going to do is throw in the RAM. Once you have your RAM sticks, look on your motherboard. So you want to install your RAM in the way that your motherboard wants you to. So it says A2 and B2 first, so that means this one and this one. So next thing, open up all four. Sometimes some motherboards have only one hook, but I think most modern ones have four. So open them up. And then what you want to do is you want to line up the RAM stick with the little tooth in the middle. It doesn't look like it is. It must be the other way. If it's not the correct way, you just want to flip it around. And then slide it back in. Just want to press it down like so until it clicks. The same thing with the other one. And then just push down. The next thing I'm going to do is throw in the NVMe. And this guy is right here. So all you have to do for this motherboard is unscrew it till it's unscrewed. And then this one has like an additional like little tooth over here. So you just slide it out and then that's it. So it's kind of hard to see on the camera, but right here is a little tooth in the port. And then what you're going to want to do is line up the little tooth here. Doesn't matter if it's upside down, the wording. Line it up and then push it in. And it's going to stick up like that, and you're just going to want to press it down and then grab your heat shield. Or if you don't have a heat shield, just push it down and then you can just screw it back in. Make sure to take the sticker off. And then they make it easy for us. You slide it in first, or you can push it down, slide it in, and then line it up, grab your screwdriver, and then screw it back in. And then that is it for the NVMe. Let's throw this thing in the case. So let's throw the motherboard inside the LandCool 217. And what you want to do, you want to line up, there's a bunch of these little holes right here on the motherboard, and it's pretty standard for most ATX mid towers. And then you want to line them up with these guys inside of the case. So what we're going to do, we're going to drop her in, not literally. Going to line it up with the IO shield on the back, and then just kind of wiggle it into place, and then that looks pretty good like that. So with the LandCool 217, there's this bottom mesh panel that allows for more airflow with the bottom mounted 120 millimeter fans. And on the side over here, there's a little thumb screw. So what you're going to do is loosen that and then slide it to the left and just lift it up. In the bottom here is your, I guess, your amenity kit for the case. And it's hooked in with a zip tie, so you could go ahead and cut that. Once you have this out, you're going to want to open it up, take out this thing, no clue what it says. Oh, little thank you card. And then you want to locate these screws right here for the motherboard standoff screws. And it should have a couple of standoffs in them, extra standoffs. But let's open it up. I'm just gonna dump these in. And yep, it comes with a couple extra standoffs just in case, these guys. But the screws that we need are these ones. So they're kind of short. They have the Phillips head and then just kind of like a little pancake saucer around them. And they're about that large. So let's grab a bunch of these and then let's screw in the motherboard to the case with the standoffs. Alright, so I think that was all the screws. I think there were 9 in total. The next thing I'm gonna do is do the power supply because the radiator is pretty thick and it would be annoying to get to the DPS connectors up here. So let's go ahead and do that. So with the LandCool 217, it comes with this like back plate that's covering the PSU. That's for the Shift series power supplies. I guess Lee does them now, and then Corsair also has their Shift series. But I'm not going to be needing that, so let's go ahead and remove this real quick. So I'm going to remove both of these hard drive cages here because the customer does not want, or is not going to be using any hard drives for the foreseeable future. So in order to get these off, first you have to unscrew the little thumb screw underneath, which is right here and right here, if you can see. So just unscrew it. Unscrew both, and then I think you just push down and out, or up and out. So yeah, it's up and out. You just have to push this little tag here up. So it's in, you push it up and out, and it comes out nice and easy. And let's do this for this one as well. Up and out. And then now we have all the room in the world for all of the cables underneath. All right, so let's plug in our cables to the PSU first. I have them all right here. So your PSU is gonna look something similar to this. I'm actually not gonna be using the 12 volt high power because the 9060 XT just has a single 8-pin connector here. So what we're gonna do is find your connectors. And then I'm going to take the other one and do the same exact thing. And it should click. There we go. Next one is the PCIe. And what I'm going to do is just take the connector, locate CPU and PCIe, and plug it in. And then last but certainly not least, the 24-pin cable for the motherboard power. Plug it in nice. I think it clicked. It's probably good. And then this one's gonna require a little bit more finagling, so let's peel it back for a little bit of more slack. And then plug it in. And it should snap, and then the PSU is prepped and ready to go. Next thing we're gonna want to do is just make sure this thing is out of the way, and then slide the PSU in. You want to make sure the fan is facing downwards towards the grate, if you have a grate in your case, and you should if you're using the Lane-Cooled 217. Let's slide it in. It has these little spacers here to allow for additional airflow, so that's pretty nice of them to add that. Once it's in, you're going to locate your screws that the PSU comes with. Should come in a little bag. Find the bag, should have 4. I'm going to tuck these in here for now. And then reline the PSU. And then once you're around back, gonna line up the screw holes with the holes to the PSU, and then take your screws and then just screw it in, just to make sure everything is universal. And all right, so the EPS connectors are good to go. I think the next order of business is to do the front panel connectors and all the USB ports for the front of the case. All right, so cable management is done. All the cables are plugged in. I think one of the last things I need to do is throw in the Liquid Freezer 3 Pro. So let's go ahead and do that first. I'm gonna throw in some thermal paste. I have some leftover Thermalright TF4 thermal paste, and then my Arctic spatula that I've always used. I'm not sure how much is left in this tube, but hopefully it's enough. Let's spread her around. Might need some more here. These AM5 CPUs are the most funny sheep. Yeah, we're definitely gonna need more on there. It's like nothing. That's probably plenty here. All right. It looks pretty solid. I'm gonna put a little bit in the middle for good measure. I'm just gonna unscrew these real quick. All right, things are looking good. Let's throw in the cooler now. Looks solid. I'm gonna throw the first screw in. All right, so I'm gonna leave them a little bit loose so I could slide it along the rails. I guess I'll put it as far to the left as I can. Now all the screw holes are uncovered, so that's good. And then when you're installing this, Arctic has washers and like little different screws than like regular fan screws. And then the screws kind of have like a rounded, it's hard to see, but it's like a rounded head. I use the washer to screw them in up top. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so when installing any AIO, really, you just want to make sure that A, this warning thing, that the plastic's peeled off, and B, specifically for the Arctic Liquid Freezer 3 Pro, make sure this plastic is off, covering like the VRM fan configuration. All right, so I finally got it on. There's actually a bit of a user error here. I'll show you guys what was going on. When installing this guy, you're supposed to leave these 4 screws a little bit loose so that this is more like flexible. These have to like wobble a little to allow these screws to be screwed into place. So don't do what I did and tighten these all the way down first. I remember doing this last time. I installed one of these, and I did it this time again, of course. So with the Liquid Freezer 3 Pro, Arctic gives you 2 different cable options, I guess you could say. One of which you can control the pump, the VRM fan, and the fans differently, and then the other one is you can control all 3 at the same time. So I'm just going to use the simple one. Makes everything easier. So on the side here, there's this little plug, and what you're going to want to do is take this piece here. That's the PWM, but take this piece here and just plug that in there. All right, things are looking good inside, looking nice and clean for the most part. Oops, except this guy, which I'll take care of in a moment. But everything else looks good. I have one last thing to do for the CPU cooler. And that is throw on this guy here. And it's nice because it's magnetized. Right? Yeah, okay, cool. Let's take off the plastic. And then can't forget the plastic on the fans as well. All right, so let's throw in the GPU. Power Color Reaper 9060 XT, 16 gig. Definitely packs a punch. Has a bunch of plastic on it. Oh, it's right here. Cool. Unscrew these guys. It's a dual slot card, so it's not that enormous. Let's slide it in. Two. And a click. All right. I put the back panel and the front panel back on. Let's give it the first boot. Oh, we gotta turn on the power supply. All right, let's give it a shot. All right, everything seems to be turned on. We got a debug light. It says DRAM, but that might be normal. All right. Cool. All right, things are looking good. Made it into the BIOS. Do have a VGA debug light. Not really sure why, but everything looks pretty solid. Memory frequency, you're gonna have to update that. Enable AMD Expo. Everything else looks solid. Got 32 gigs. Got the 7700X. Motherboard looks good. 4800, you have to change that, but it is G-Skill, and that's what we have. Everything else looks pretty solid.